In a galaxy far, far away, in a non-distant future. I believe we're talking about Star Wars, and this is random conflux. What? I'm Zach?
Um, are you Zach?
I think I'm Zach.
That makes me John.
And I'm Matt.
And I think we have a doozy of a Star Wars topic. Some things going on with the Star Wars universe, or fandom, or whatever you want to call it. And there's some takes and differences and opinions. Well, that's what this show's about. I have a few cue cards here for the topic, and let's look into it.
If you don't mind, let's touch on the most recent thing first before we get into the body of what you've cue carded. One of the biggest controversies going on right now is with the Acolyte. Spoiler warning!
Yes.
With the Acolyte in season 4, not saying in season 1, episode 4, they introduced, and remember, the Acolyte takes place many, many years, I think like 100 years or more, before the events of episode 1. They introduced Force witches that were lesbian, not that the fact that they're lesbian matters, that, oh well, that's fine, representation, whatever. But
I didn't even get that part.
They were Force witches that used the Force to impregnate themselves. And the reason why this is such a hot topic right now is people are saying that completely undermines Anakin's story. Because Anakin's supposed to be special, a rarity, a child of the Force. And they're saying, well, if anybody can just do it, then why is that special or not?
Yeah, I completely agree with that statement. Because, like, the Chosen One is supposed to be one with the Force. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to be born with the Force.
Mm-hmm.
So, does that make Anakin not the Chosen One?
Mm-hmm. He's supposed to be of the Force. There's no father, and that's how these Force witches in episode 4 have their children, is of the Force, no father. So it's no different. I mean,
well, the way I looked at the Force witches was more along the lines of Dathomirians.
Drawing a blank.
Drawing a blank, too? Okay. Dathomirian is the... they're the species that Maul is. But they're more along the lines of calling themselves witches or sisters of the Force. They follow the gray Jedi type mindset on the Force isn't just one-sided. They specialize, and they don't call it the Force, it's their way of doing magic. But it's basically open themselves to the midichlorians that envelop everybody. And they just call it magic rather than the Force. That's American.
Gotcha.
But, and a lot of people that were born on Dathomir, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Oh! Dathomir. You're talking about from the new Jedi games. I thought you were saying Dathomirian.
No, Dathomir.
Oh, okay. I realize what you're talking about now. Yeah, from Fallen Order and Jedi Survivor.
And the Star Wars Clone Wars.
Yeah. Okay.
It's the said planet of Darth Maul and what's his face? The yellow guy.
Ronald McDonald?
Yeah, let's go with him. But Maul's brother.
Gotcha.
Canon brother.
Okay. All right. So, needless to say, so you were kind of lumping them in with that. I get that. Okay. All right. What's your first bullet point?
How is Disney handling Lucasfilm and George Lucas's original canon for Star Wars?
Okay, so George Lucas's original canon for Star Wars is been drastically changed from what it originally was. He wrote out 1 through 9 in a gigantic script. Okay, all right, and the story for 7, 8, and 9 was not what we saw on the big screen.
No, it was supposed to be, if I'm not mistaken, it was supposed to go along with the Jedi Academy games.
I honestly don't know, but I just know that we were told that it was not the same story.
Yeah.
Now, 1 through 6 played out more or less the way George Lucas wanted them to, except in 1 through 3, it was supposed to be revealed that Jar Jar Binks was actually the Sith Lord, but because people hated him so much and the studio pushed so much, George Lucas changed it. Okay? Which,
Wasn't he supposed to be Palpatine's original, Sith Lord?
Yes. And that was supposed to be, if you notice, there's a bunch of accidents that Jar Jar has in the first one that he's actually disguising using the Force. And they're bringing that to light. There's that new Star Wars Lego game coming out, I don't remember the title, where everything changes and the world gets flipped upside down, and Darth Jar Jar is in it, so we get to actually see him. So he has a place in canon that actually existed at one point in time.
Yeah.
Now, on top of that, then there's all the original canon, which has video games and books and comic books filled in it that were all thrown out the window, okay, when 7, 8, and 9 were made. Now, understand this. I am not sitting here saying 7, 8, and 9 were bad and they shouldn't exist and take them out of canon. I'm just explaining the facts, which 7, 8, and 9, they claimed there was no books or comics or games they could choose from. Resources. They said books, comics, and games, and they literally threw out books, comics, and games from canon.
A full script.
Right? There was this whole thing where Luke was a Force spirit following Han Solo's son, and Han Solo's son was taking death sticks to try to avoid having to see Luke's spirit, and he was a scoundrel and had the Shoto lightsaber, the little short lightsaber that Luke had, and he had his father's pit blaster, and there was this whole thing going on, and it was all in the comics and in the novels, and we never got to experience that because they wanted to go a different direction. Disney did.
Yeah. Now that's the case of it not going good. A case of it actually going good would have been the Rogue One movie. And
hold on a second before you get into that. I'm going to dive a little bit into what Matt said.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And people are probably going to be like, well, George Lucas has changed 4, 5, and 6 so many freaking times with different releases. Yes, but if you actually go back and watch the original 4, 5, and 6, but the original transition or making of the second one of the original trilogy, or 5, Ben Kenobi was just heard as a Force Ghost, not seen. And then the second time, the actor was asked to come back and reprise his role as a Force Ghost version of Ben Kenobi, seen wearing his original robes, but slightly transparent. And then the third time, he was blue. And then, for Anakin, he wasn't in a Force Ghost until much later, until after they did the Revenge of the Sith and Hayden Christensen, if that's the way you pronounce his name.
Hayden Christensen, yeah. But real quick, before Hayden Christensen was added as a Force Ghost at the end of Return of the Jedi, there was a cut, I don't know which version, where the man who had played Darth Vader with his helmet off at the end of Return of the Jedi was standing there all healed up and a Force Ghost with Yoda and Ben. Yeah, there was a cut of that, but now you go to watch the most current version, like the version that's on Disney Plus, and if you watch Return of the Jedi, it's Hayden Christensen's ghost.
Yeah.
Force Ghost.
So, like, the original 4, 5, and 6 has been redone so many times to make it slightly more connected to George Lucas's original idea for the movies.
Okay. If you heard background noise, there's kids in a kiddie pool playing outside, squealing and having fun. So that's
we have no AC in our house right now, so we have to have the windows open. So you're going to hear things in the background.
This isn't a proper studio environment?
No, not at all. You don't deserve one. I mean,
how dare we? How dare we?
Any more on this point, or do you want to move to the next bulletin?
I lost my cards.
So disorganized.
Well, if any of you's got more to add to it that you know that I don't know.
No, that's a fair point. George Lucas has changed his story, not the main story, but he's changed things around here and there.
Well, like he's added on to it to improve too.
Yeah, or an instance of him, I think something's funny. In when they redid 4, 5, and 6, there was a part where the stormtrooper bonked his head on the doorway.
Yeah, because he was slightly too tall.
Yeah,
and
they put a sound effect in it, like
just to express it.
Like going.
They could have just taken it out, but George Lucas laughed about it. He's like, "We're keeping that in there."
Yes.
But
no, go ahead and move on.
Okay, we'll move on. But with that, like, I just feel like if it's, and this may be like one-sided compared to what a few people have told me, but it's my own personal opinion. People can agree, they can disagree. I just feel like the stuff that Catherine Kennedy has been doing has been more involved with pushing a woke agenda down the throats of the fans as much as she can to like fill some sort of agenda of her own. And I'm not trying to say that every Star Wars show has had that quality to it, but everything that she has proudly put her name on and is backed completely has really been that. I mean, look at 7, 8, and 9. Look at the Acolytes series. It's like she's personally trying to push an agenda that she really doesn't need to push. Star Wars is supposed to be for everybody, not just like if you want.
Can I put it in words?
If you can do better, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to use some harsh terms, nothing negative in the sense of PC or anything like that, but not my own opinion, but people have said that she is very neo-Nazi feminist. Now, that's not calling her a Nazi. Neo-Nazi feminist is somebody who women should be put to the forefront, almost in a matriarchal sense, okay? Men have had their time for women empowerment now, and it's taking women empowerment far beyond. For instance, Emma Watson has used that term before, and she is a pro-feminist, but she's not for neo-Nazi feminism, okay? And Kathleen Kennedy is neo-Nazi feminism, okay? It's about women need to do everything. The original script for 8, The Last Jedi, had Finn learning the Force and becoming a Force user and a Jedi.
That's what J.J. Abrams wanted to do.
Yeah, he wanted to do that. Then Kathleen Kennedy changed it around and focused everything more on Rey. Okay.
And she didn't do enough of that in the 7.
Exactly. Okay. With Rey being a Deus Ex Machina, I know everything naturalist.
Mary Sue.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with having a female lead, but you do it right. You don't make the person perfect. That's any sort of fan.
Well, you want to see a female lead? Watch Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka. Yeah, that's how you do a female lead, right there. Strong, powerful, straightforward, but not all over about herself.
And here's the thing: Ahsoka is a strong character. Mm-hmm. She is a female character, but she's a strong female character done right. Mm-hmm. Another one. A TV show from a long, long time ago, a galaxy far, far away. I forget the actual name of the show, but the lady was played by the wrestler China, and it was something Amazonian princess.
Xena wasn't.
Was that it?
Xena wasn't played by China. She played another character in that, didn't she?
Yeah, China played another character. I thought she was a guest character in Xena Warrior Princess.
Yeah.
Okay, because Xena was played by...
She was played by Wonder Woman, I forget her name.
Yeah. But yeah, her.
Well,
Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, Lucy
I
Lawless.
knew about China being in it, but...
Yeah, she was a guest character.
I wasn't sure if she was the original
Lucy Lawless was
character
Xena. Yes, Lucy Lawless. Xena is a good example of another female character done right. And to bring back to Lacrosse's point earlier, another... done right as a female lead and done right in canon, Rogue One.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was done very well.
And that doesn't even have to be just Star Wars. Like, I brought up China from WWE. Awesome wrestler. And I say wrestler, not women wrestler. Just wrestler. Yes, she was a woman, but she was a strong, independent woman.
Yeah. And Rhea Ripley's doing a good job in her footsteps.
Exactly.
But getting back on track.
There's a way to make a strong female character, and then there's a way to not make a strong female character.
Or that's strong characters in general. Like, you can apply the same thing to a guy character, and the guy character will suck just as bad.
But when you're forcing it, like with what Kathleen Kennedy has done with Rey, as you said, and what she's trying to do in the Acolytes series.
Yeah. The Acolyte,
It's pushing it too hard and too quick.
Yeah. Yes, and here's the thing. For all the fans of Rey, understand, I like the idea of Rey. A child of Palpatine who's coming to be the force of good. That is an excellent idea. It just wasn't executed well. The actress did a good job playing her role. The actress, I want to see her, and I if they do a 10, 11, and 12, I want to see her come back, and I want to see her be Rey. When we played Star Wars Battlefront 2, the new one, I played as either, oh my god, I can't think of the name, Four Arms.
Grievous.
Yeah, General Grievous or Rey with that yellow lightsaber. Those were the two I played as because I enjoyed the character. I just didn't enjoy how they did it and they focused it. Okay?
I mean, if Rey was done properly, I don't think that the character, and I'm so sorry for the actress that played her, but I don't think that that character would have gotten as much hate as she had.
Yeah. And she wouldn't have had as much screen time because she would have been sharing it with Finn's actor, but that's okay.
Yeah.
But I also think that, and sorry to cut you off, Jay, but I also think that if given the opportunity to do 7, 8, and 9 a little bit better and to start off a little slower in her build to becoming a really good character, I think that the original actress for Rey should come back because I think that she did as best as she could with the stuff that was given to her.
What did you want to say?
I was going to say, if you look on another fandom of it, and the opposite side of the gender, Superman. For a while, Superman wasn't selling as well because he was
He was
all
a male version of a Mary Sue. He was God.
They started giving him like social problems and things like that.
Yes, and then when they did the New 52 launch, which
Yeah.
a lot of people hated, Superman comics sold really well because they made him have struggles he had to overcome.
Yeah.
It wasn't just he was all powerful from the beginning. Now, going back to Star Wars, and there's a petitions out there. There has been a Kickstarter that failed for it. There have been so many people that have been talking about it that, oh, we're going to reboot 7, 8, and 9, and the original 7, 8, and 9 aren't going to be canon anymore, and all that. And Mark Hamill has even commented on all this. It's a fan dream. It's not going to happen because they're dead set that that's what 7, 8, and 9 is. And they're focusing on The Mandalorian, The Acolyte, Ahsoka. They're focusing on their TV world right now because it's doing so well. Yeah. Even with The Acolyte having the issues with episode 4, I keep saying season, with episode 4, okay, it's still doing incredibly well right now. It's being well received, okay? So they're going to still focus on it, and if they ever get around to, 10, 11, 12, they might do it. But they've also talked about that they want to do Star Wars movies that don't focus on the Skywalker lineage and maybe focus on a completely different lineage in a completely different time, maybe many years in the future. So
A sequel to the Ewok movie?
Well, here's also another thing. At the end of 9, they wanted to kind of cut back on like Rey being a Mary Sue since 7. And they have like an orphan kid just reach his hand out and pull a broomstick. Like not even being taught how to use the Force, but just casually pulls the broomstick.
yeah, that was the end of 7. Yeah, Force Awakens.
I thought that was the end of 9.
No, that was the end of 7. The end of 9 was her looking off at the Force ghosts of Luke and Leia. And then that woman who asked who you are, and she said, I'm Rey Skywalker. And then it cuts out after she had just buried the lightsabers. Yeah. Yeah, that was the end of 9.
Because I thought they put that in due to all of the backlash.
That was the end of 7.
Okay.
Because that was supposed to be signifying the Force Awakening. Because again, the original 7, 8, and 9 script, or the at least 8 script, had other Force users coming into play. That was not just Finn, not just her. The idea was the Force was waking up all across the galaxy. That's why that kid had the broom come to him, and then he's looking out at the stars, and you see him hold the broom like a lightsaber.
Oh,
Yeah.
But there was a draft of the script that I was able to read due to a friend of mine. And I'm not going to mention it because it has no pertinence. I'm just going to mention what I remember reading from the script. The original script for 7 has to do with Luke in the Jedi Temple. Like a newer form of the Jedi Temple. And it was supposed to follow the Jedi Academy games where there was like a younger Ben Solo being his first pupil. And then you start seeing him bringing in some of these Force-strong children into his temple, which has to do with a comic book very similar to the script. But he finds a young Rey, and then he starts teaching her little bits here and there. Like she catches on very quick, but she has to have like a helping hand. And that was the original script for 7. And that was supposed to push Rey into the path of like a secondary chosen.
Gotcha.
That's where Ray was supposed to like start getting to that extent.
What's your next point?
How do you think people at the new Lucasfilm are treating Star Wars fandom as well as YouTubers that disagree with their methods?
So, what you're asking is how we feel that Lucasfilm themselves are responding to the fans.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Well, Lucasfilm, Disney in general, like.
well, Disney's had a very strong stance of this is the way it is now. Everybody needs to accept it. Okay. YouTubers have had a very strong stance of if we can change Sonic, why can't we change Star Wars?
Yeah, because
Okay.
Sonic actually pulled to the fans.
Exactly. Yeah. And as for YouTubers in general, I mean, is there somebody that you're citing? Is there an instance you're citing?
Well, I have in my notes that I feel that the Disney, as well as like some people in Lucasfilm, not everyone in Lucasfilm. I feel like if one person disagrees with them that has a large audience, then they get a little ass hurt about it. And they try to draw that person out. They, Star Wars Theory being one example that pops into the forefront of my brain. Generation Tech. He's another guy that's behind Star Wars lore. That does a lot of Star Wars lore videos. And he's got a massive following.
Did something happen to him?
He disagreed, but they didn't hit him as hard as they did with Star Wars Theory. And Star Wars Theory is more about, like, he's okay with you kind of coming up with your own canon. He's a theory person himself. But he's also the kind of person that's like, well, I don't like this. It's not my Star Wars. It's not the Star Wars I know. But yet, even Luke has said that. Well, Mark Hamill. This isn't my Star Wars. This is the Star Wars I know. But he also says what he likes about the new Star Wars and what he doesn't like. Like, he's very vocal. And he's very honest about his opinion. Mm-hmm. And I feel like he's just getting a lot of hate due to his opinion. And I think it's wrong. Well, that being as an example of just a wider community.
Yeah, and here's my thing. An opinion shouldn't make you hated by the community. Everybody has a different opinion about stuff. Like, no two people have the exact same opinion on the same thing. Doesn't matter whether it's Star Wars, religious beliefs, whether or not something's cyan or green.
Right?
You mean blue. Cyan's blue.
Debatable. But yeah, it's like everybody has their own opinion on stuff. And the only thing that matters about opinions is you don't argue with women about colors.
But
because they know whether it's blue or not.
Here's the point. A fandom, if I'm not mistaken, and Matt can probably correct me on this, but a fandom is supposed to be a place where you can express those feelings and not be criticized.
Well, that's what it should be. What it is a different story.
Oh yeah, and people argue over semantics all the time.
Yeah, and people will argue
over
the
a
little...
safe environment to do that.
It should be, but it isn't.
Yeah.
And it's because everybody is so frustrated with opinions nowadays. It used to be back in the 90s when we all really grew up. It used to be, if you had an opinion, you voiced it and you moved on.
Yeah.
Nowadays you have an opinion, you risk being canceled. You risk having your whole life drawn through the mud. You risk, you have to walk on eggshells about everything that you post on social media or say, because if you do one thing wrong, you're screwed. And it's so stupid.
And that's not the way it should be.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. But still, going back to it, okay, they shouldn't be treated the way that they were treated, and that's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So that's all I have to say about it.
Well, in my opinion, like, everybody should be treated with the respect that you would expect to treat someone else with.
Yeah, and to give a loose quote, Bruce Timm, which was in charge of one of the people in charge of Batman Animated, literally, it's like, it was him or like one of the other ones that said the canon, don't get me wrong, canon's important, but they made their own canon for Batman Animated. They gave so many different backstories to some of the villains that weren't originally there. But they said the story matters first.
Well, that's the key thing.
Yeah.
They gave new backstories to villains that did not exist in the comic.
Or didn't have good backstories to begin with.
Or didn't have a proper backstory to begin with.
Yeah.
It's different between giving a good backstory or just rewriting something that's completely already canon in something that has already been done before.
Yeah.
Okay. So what's your next point?
My next point is
You're out of points?
well, that was more about like how you guys are viewing Disney training the fandom.
Okay.
Okay. Well, how do you think the fandom is treating itself?
It's treating itself?
Okay, and I thought that was the reaction that I might get.
Okay.
But, and this is one of the reasons why I brought some little notes with me.
Okay.
And it's more along the lines of the fandom being divided, in my own opinion, being divided into, like, OG Lucasfilm fans and then, like, the new era kind of go with the flow fans.
Okay.
And I think, in a way, and I'm not putting myself into either category, but I think, in a way, it's not the same fandom that it was when it was originally like this.
Okay. So, here's the thing. There are people that want to stick with the original stories and the original canons, the books, the novels, the games. There are people that are accepting of the new things that they're putting out and moving forward with it and saying, let's go ahead and support that. But then you have a third sect of people, and it's people that like all of it, okay? There are people, and I'm going to go ahead and put myself in this third camp, because there are people out there that go, you know what, it's Star Wars. It's going to be what it's going to be. Let's just have it and go with it and support it because it's Star Wars. Go see it in the theater. Buy that poster. Buy that shirt. If you really don't like it, throw your opinion on social media and move on. Okay? There's a lot of people, I'm on TikTok, and there's a lot of people on TikTok that say that you shouldn't gatekeep. Okay? And gatekeeping is saying that if you like 7, 8, and 9, you're not a real Star Wars fan. Gatekeeping is also, okay, if you like the original trilogy before it was changed and you don't like the changes, you're not a real Star Wars fan. And all those kinds of opinions, that's gatekeeping. And that's taking away from what Star Wars is. Star Wars is a fictional universe with fictional characters that we're all having fun, either having escapism in with the video games and the tabletop and the stories and the movies, or that we're just enjoying for the sake of enjoyment. So let's have fun and enjoy it instead of worrying about being so freaking frustrated with everything.
It should be about what you enjoy.
And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
Yes.
But you don't see that side of the fandom.
See people arguing
That's the
over.
way that the fandom should be.
But that's the thing. I see videos.
Divided into the other two categories. It should just be the one.
And on TikTok, I see a lot of people in that third thing, but they're talking like you are about the other two sides as well. They're talking about it because that's what they see so much. And they're trying to get their opinions out, and they're trying to say, be inclusive, but don't be diverse for the sake of diversity. They're saying, be strong in whatever gender you're promoting, but don't promote the gender just because. They're saying, have fun, but don't push your own agenda, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay? All right?
And I don't think anybody should be mistreated for whatever side of the camp that they're on.
No. There's people that are like one side, there's going to be people that like the other
And
side.
that's the whole point of like how I mentioned only two sides. And then Matt brought up a third side, which is the side that's so rarely seen nowadays.
But it's, if you think about it, it's the
But that
majority.
is the OG fandom.
And that's the majority.
I'm
You
not
got the minority
talking
that are
about-
talking about, like, you got the vocal minority that are talking like one
Yeah.
side or the other, whereas
But-
most people are like, just let us watch the show.
Yeah.
But I'm not talking
Yeah.
about that being as like OG Lucasfilm, but that's like OG fandom.
Yes.
That's the way that the fandom should be.
And that's any
Not hate.
that's any fandom, not just Star Wars. It's like enjoy what you enjoy.
Like the actors shouldn't be getting hate, they're just doing a job.
Yeah.
The people that are rating the show shouldn't get hate for their opinion. Again, that's their job. That's what they do. Like the fans shouldn't be criticized because, well, maybe this fan doesn't like this, maybe, or this fan may not like this show. Like it shouldn't matter to that extent. As long as you're a fan, that should be the only thing that fucking matters.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of point that I was trying to make. Why is there a separate new generations fan and OG Lucasfilm fan? Why can't it just be one?
So just enjoy what you like about it.
Yep.
Yeah, enjoy being a Star Wars fan and stop giving two shits about the hate.
What's your next point?
That was it.
That's actually a really good spot to end it on, I think.
Basically, I just wanted to get that point out. Like,
And it makes sense because here's the thing, and I'm not going to reiterate anymore. I'm going to actually add something that I think will help out a lot. Okay, if you're having trouble with a certain aspect of it, the best thing you can do is just ignore that aspect and enjoy the rest of it. If you watch 7, 8, and 9 and you don't like them, don't watch them. Again, if you watch 1 through 3 and you don't like them, don't watch them again. Okay? If you watch 4, 5, 6 and you don't like them, why are you here?
but I also think that because, like, I'm a fan myself, I'm gonna look at Star Wars as Star Wars. I'm not gonna be like, okay, this is original Lucasfilm, this is Disney. I really don't care who's behind it. I care if it's a good show. If it's something that grabs my attention, I don't care how much woke is behind it. I don't care like who directs it or whatever. As long as it's an compelling story to me, that's all I care.
Because you've admitted before, you do like some shows that are quote unquote woke.
Yeah, like I do like some things, but I don't like it being thrown down my throat in the aspect of taking away from the story.
Yeah.
And that's the whole point. If I'm watching a show, I'm watching it for the story. I'm not watching it for some weak agenda.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
And I'm guessing that's the cue for us to end this topic. with just a little over maybe a half an hour long. With that being said, this has been Star Wars. You've heard Random Conflux. I am Matt. He is Zach. JJ is here somewhere. And
That's not true. I'm Matt.
And I'm John.
I'm Zach. This is Random Conflux.
Wait, we forgot to introduce somebody.
Hello there, I'm Soren.
Alright.
And it's been a topic about Star Wars. So,
Make sure to check out our new channel.
Well, if that ever comes up.
so with that being said, just get rid of the hate, push it out into the Force, and let it die with the Sith. As always,
Hugs all around.
yeah, let's look around and embrace the light side of the Force.
Will this ever end?
And see you into the next time.
Yay.
Toodles.